Pretty low here. All right, you can still see
All
me?
right. Yeah. Welcome back. Looks good.
All right.
We're here. I can hear you. So we are on this, I would say, probably bi-monthly conversation with Dennis Gilmore, my guest, and we have a third guest who will join us hopefully on this conversation that we're having. I don't have an agenda. Dennis doesn't have an agenda. We're not here to sell you anything, but we are definitely here and committed to pulling down the thread, pulling down the string. And one thing that's happened, I think it's because Dennis has a little more time than I do, and that is he wrote a whole article and then brought in a bunch of other pieces of information regarding an interview that we did or a show that we did a couple weeks ago. And in this one little nugget, I said and pushed back a little bit on what's the evidence of truth versus the someone's opinion and myth, and can myth be true? And I started questioning these types of things, and I think that that's an important trait. I think that I have finally learned that it's not a mistake to be wrong. The mistake is to stop questioning. And sometimes I do get frustrated about it because there are truths that I have held for a long time. And I'm really curious if Elena has a similar idea, or Dennis, if you have some truths that you have held on to for a long time. But one example is this truth that that truth is relative. That is something that I was raised with. Scientology perpetuated that. And then they also within the organization had, if it isn't written, it isn't true, which right off, if you think about that, that makes no sense, no logical sense. And then it goes down further, like if it was written, who wrote it? Did they have the authority to write it, etc.? And I'm really interested in this concept of truth, facts, myth as truth, because Dennis, you bring in things that I love, Star Wars and mythological and allegory. And there is truth to that. Is there objective truth? I don't know. And that's another piece, because we both had the Mark Passio entrance for, I think that's how we actually connected, is through Mark Passio's work. And the very first thing he talks about is solipsism, which essentially is that there's no objective truth, or that's the belief, right? And that's one of the greatest forms of mind control, which is that there's no objective truth. So we're going to pull that apart. We're going to have this discussion. I have some questions specifically for Dennis, and I am going to push back. Thank goodness Dennis is tolerant and patient as I push back. I'm going to say one other thing before I turn it over to you, and that's that this weekend I was talking with Ryder, my son that you know, and I was really frustrated about something, and he said, Mom, two things that can be true and that can also be true at the same time. And I said, no, there cannot be two specific, separate truths. In fact, two things cannot occupy the same space. And then we got into this big philosophical question, and I had to suspend my dogmatic belief that two things cannot occupy the same space, thinking in laws, that the law of substitution. And then I had to start going, wait a minute, who made up those laws? Yeah, I read a book about it. And then I started talking about the Hermetics. And then Ryder said, who are the Hermetics? Why did they, what did they know? And, so it went on to this. It's really wonderful that my son is pushing back in that way, and that I am letting go of having to be right, because that is a significant issue that I've had, because I want not necessarily be right, but in the past I held so strongly to my convictions and to my beliefs, and that this is what's true, and I will fight to the death for the truth. But then wait a minute, what the heck is really true? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, is that? Okay, so if there's a specific question that I have for you, because I know you like me to ask you a direct question, it's this. Is truth discovered or is it created?
As human discovery is truth, God who knows, around we might have got from these things were confusing. There's absolute objective truth. It's easy to understand. It gets very subjective, and reasons for that, I would think. What do you think of that? Because you're talking about early about written stuff, the Scientology.
Yeah. So look,
who's the authority down? That's the thing. L. Ron Hubbard wrote his stuff. Is it written? Right. Who wrote it? All those things you were mentioning. So supposedly the Catholic Church gets the authority from Peter. Right. The Catholic Church. There's a delay. I got to apologize for people because I'm having to. Their power went out again, and so I'm having to use my backup Chromebook, so it's a bit of a delay. But I'm saying, okay, it's always the authority question, right? So supposedly the Pope took his authority. He's the successor to the Apostle Peter. This is the story they tell, right? And then it comes to government. They write stuff down too. It's written. Oh, it's not. It's got to be the law. It's got to be written down. Then it's a proper authority. Who write it down? Who gets to interpret it? Those are key things, and you've experienced that with Scientology too. Hubbard's the authority. He wrote it down. So you got to go with what's written down. Who gets to interpret it? We all get to interpret it. We all get to subjectively decide what it's saying, what the words mean. We do have that power, but they take it away through mind control from birth. And now it becomes, like Mark Passo, mind control. Everything's subjective. Whatever the government says, that's the objective truth. Just do what they say. And practically, if you don't, they're going to do violence to you, throw you in a cage and all that kind of stuff. Take your money, give you a fine. That's the only thing the government does. They fine you, they take away a privilege, or they throw you in a cage. That's the only they can do to enforce their so-called laws.
Do you have this concept of all law? Have you heard of this? That all law is God. It's the name of God, Allah.
Well,
and then they took that and shifted it. This is where I learned it from the Moors I kind of went down a rabbit hole of the Moors and Allah, like Allah, when that I don't even know about Islam and all of that, but Allah is actually God.
Yeah.
And then they shifted the words, and then it became all law, and then law, and then the authority. So it's just so interesting because we don't have the original. We don't have the moment all of it started. There's so many fragments that have just broken off and gone off onto these pieces. So, I'm just pulling down strings or chasing after whatever breadcrumb we next find. Something that I wanted to ask you about was if, let's say, because Pasu is all about the objective truth, not subjective. And you kept saying over and over, subjective truth. It's what subjective. So subjective is essentially what you make up. Right. And there could be an emotional truth that you hurt my feelings, or that. And that's true for me, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. Someone says that. And then, but the truth of the actual fact is somebody just stated these letters put together, and that's the facts, right? Versus true. So is truth facts? Probably not. I'll let you answer that. And then I want to go further with regards to really understanding objective truth. And then what is reality? Because is reality just what we've agreed upon to be true, but it's not actually true? So what is truth? Hence, what the F is true.
I remember Paso, I took his media course, right? And then we chat after the course, and people ask questions. And I can't remember, I think I asked or somebody asked it, but he said God is a God of truth and law. So it's not just truth, objective truth, but objective law. So those go together, right? Truth and law, not man's law, though. Natural law is what he's referring to, right? The creator is the creator of truth and law. But people don't know. We've been co-opted to think whatever governments make up, that's the law. And now you just go with that. If you don't, they're going to do violence to you anyway. So you got to go, you just got to go do whatever they say. But objective, I still like to say objective truth as a concept is true, but we perceive it so subjectively, right? And everyone's at different stages. We've had different upbringings, different understandings, different cultures, different cult URs, giving you different forms of mind control. So it's very subjective. Every argument is over some difference in understanding of truth, right? Doesn't matter if it's religious or you're arguing over politics or just what's the best hockey team. You know, back in the '86 when I was in high school, I was in there the Gretzky days. I'd have been fighting for the Oilers are the best team, and I'd be telling you all the objective stats as to why. But I'm not so much into any kind of games anymore. It's kind of out of my system. But I used to like hockey, right? But that's we can all agree that that's subjective. That's just your opinion. But everything is ultimately, if you're in your own solipsism reality, right? And I think there's some truth to the concept. I don't call it solipsism, right? But I call it a different name, Trueminatrix. But everything's subjective. Ultimately, if I'm in my own little reality, and science has proven that consciousness is fundamental, I think it has, double slit, all these various quantum mechanics and stuff. So I'm in my own reality, and what I perceive with my senses is my reality, but there's overlap. And with computer analogies, makes it a little easier to understand, right? If there's a centralized server and there's an AI on that centralized server interfering with my computer screen, I've got my objective computer screen, what I see, it's my five senses see it, but you don't see that. It has to go to the central server. The AI can intercept it and change things even and modify what I'm saying. And then the file gets downloaded to you, you're wherever you're in the United States. I'm in Canada, right? We just have simulations of each other, talking to each other. And what I'm trying to convey to you could be totally warped by that AI. And you're just hearing me say, hey, great day for, let's go for coffee or whatever, right? That's a radical example. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get the concept across. We've got our objective.
So I get it. And I'll tell you something that I just realized. It's all bullshit.
Okay.
It's all lies. The Matrix, all of it. Because that is so chaotic and confusing when you start going down this, not that it's bad, not that it's wrong, but it's not true.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because the perception that someone has doesn't automatically make it true. Not even for them, because their perception can change if they, let's say, get rid of a perspective that they had that they're not allowed to do something, or that girls are bad, or that, all of it is skewed based on a perception. So the very fact that fact makes everything not true. So then what you were saying with regards to God's truth is objective, natural law is objective, then it goes into the simplicity that Mark is always breaking down to, which is the objective reality of the simple things. What he talks about with regards to natural law. And for me, my viewpoint on natural law is that what we put out, we get back, essentially. So is that the truth? And I think so. Is it then going to be the reality? I don't know. So again, we're using words that I think's creating the confusion.
Sure.
Because there's multiple meanings of these.
Oh, yeah.
And like what you were saying when I went back and was reading what you were saying, where I was pushing against about the myths. And I'll tell you, I think that, let's say, for example, when you talk about myth and the allegories and the truths with Star Trek and Star Wars, and that even mythology can actually be more true than a fact. So fact and truth are different. So someone just put, I think, was that you?
Right.
Elena? I
Elena.
want to bring you on. Facts are what make truths true. I don't necessarily agree with that. See, isn't that interesting?
Okay. If I'm on my computer right now, I'm on a computer, I'm getting a simulation of you. The facts of what I'm seeing, it's like an illusion, really. It's not you. It's the simulation of you. The accuracy of it can be modified electronically. I took a course by
100%. Yes, exactly.
can I say something? Rizwan Virk, I
Yes.
took a simulation course with him, and he demonstrated through his Zoom link how he clicked a button and he had an avatar of him. It suddenly changed. You didn't see him anymore. You saw this avatar talking with his voice, just to demonstrate. In a simulation, everything can get really wacky like that. So how do you define what's true versus, if that's true, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I think of the movie They Lived.
They Live.
Because everybody's walking around in a reality that they believe is true with certain facts in place.
Right.
And not true. So anyway, this is a really, these are like, to me, mind benders.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to agree because I don't know why. Because we make meaning of everything.
Right.
See, even me saying because I was trying to make it mean something that we aren't. Oh, we're not going to agree. So it means we're bad. It means no, none of it. That's why this is exciting to me, is that we actually get to. I want to expand my thinking. I want to shift out of this and question everything, especially the laws.
Power's back again. Hold on a sec.
Good, hooray! Okay, I'm going to bring Elena on and see what we can discuss about truth. Maybe argue about truth and facts. Okay. Hey.
Hi. Let me see if I can get my camera there. I was trying to write a general chat, but I can see chat, but I don't know where it is.
It's all good. Now you get to talk.
All right. So, I understand you very much. So I struggle with the very same thing. What is truth? When I first got into so-called spiritualism, I left the church, and I'd been out of the church for about 4 years, and it was great trauma for me leaving the church, because I was finding truth. Now, here's the thing about the truth. I just didn't listen to this person talk. It was Joe Atwell, and he wrote a book and did a DVD that you can get on the internet called Caesar's Messiah. Quite a thick book. And I listened to him on someone's presentation, talk show, interview, and this was my first time hearing this stuff. I had been a good little Christian girl my whole entire life, going from different denominations, always looking for truth. Okay, because when I ask a question, and I ask too many questions, I was basically shown the door very nicely, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we're done here, and I would move on and move on and move on. And when I did listen to Joe Atwell talk, and I then read his book, it was as though somebody had pierced my heart, because this was something I believed hook, line, and sinker my whole entire life. You had Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and believing this. But in my heart, I always questioned, well, if you have God, and God is God, the Creator, why do we call Jesus Christ Lord? God. And towards the end, so when I listened to Atwell speak, I was like, oh, there's more to this. There's a lot more to this. He explained, he was a biblical historian, not a young guy, an older guy. All right, Joe Atwell, biblical historian. And as he was getting into the historicity of religion, okay, the Christian religion, he found more errors than he ever could realize. It took him a while, though, for him to finally realize, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then he had these great authors who, he would interview, because I became a part of his, his internet thing there at the time. This is going back quite a while. Well, 15, my goodness, maybe.
Let me just clarify, errors in the Bible.
Yeah, yes.
Errors. So errors based on what, though? Because there's some Like if you take it
didn't
literally,
make sense because this passage would read in such a way, and then this passage would read in such a way, and it was
that it
like, well,
contradicted.
which one is true?
Yeah.
Is it this or is it this? Forgive me for not being able to give you a,
Was
whatever.
it allegory? I mean, this is so interesting because that's a whole evolution of
Yeah.
understanding with regards to that. And I'm sure those that were very heavily, just like with me, heavily into Scientology for decades, that it took some mind bending to unravel it.
And here's his story. Here's his
Caesar's
book.
Messiah. Okay.
All right, and it's the Roman conspiracy to invent Jesus. I mean,
Cool.
There's a whole big reason why they needed that, because the Caesar at the time had 2 sons, and what they became known as in so many words was the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And they wanted to be, they were basically inventing Jesus. They were come you have to come through us, in order to get da da da. But this was all done. The Nicene Council came and took all the books of the Bible and weaseled them down to, what is it, 60? How many books in the Bible to the ones that are there now? And they took scripture out that let you know how powerful you are. Okay, they took those out. They made a few mistakes, and one was where the words are, greater are these works that I do, you will do. That wasn't supposed to be in there, because that was something part of my prayer meditation. I would wonder, greater? Then I want to do these great things. I want to heal people. I want to help people. It was all about people, right? I want to help them to be da, 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 da. And after a while, I would do this in the dark in the evening. That was the only time, because I had to take care of the kitchen and the family and whatever. And so I got to my prayer chamber by about 9:30 every night. And you would have thought that I was going into a love affair. That's how I couldn't wait to get there, right? And I would light a candle. It was usually totally dark by that time. And at first, I was saying your church type prayers. And then after a while, I began to talk to God. I was having a conversation with God. And I remember saying, God, I don't want to talk to Jesus anymore. Can I just talk to you, God? And I had never realized when people say, oh, I got chills, I got the hair stood up. I was just having a conversation. I said that, and immediately, every hair on my arm stood up. And I was like, you're kidding. What was that? What just happened? Oh my gosh. So I can talk to you. And again, I got it. I was like, okay, enough with that. So him and I would have this, and I stopped praying and started to talk. And as I talked, looking at the flame, I didn't read a book. I didn't hear anyone tell me to do anything. This is what I was doing. I looked at the flame and would close my eyes and open and close, and would see the colors change and the white and things begin to move around. And I would have these conversations with God. And then one night I said, you know what? I'm just going to, because I hadn't fully left I left the church, the institution, but hadn't totally left the church because I hadn't come across Joe Atwell yet. Okay. So I was in that tweenie stage, right? So there I am kneeling on my bed, and this took a year to get here. All right.
So let me just understand this for a moment. You hadn't found the Joe book yet.
Joe Atwell yet, right?
You were already detangling.
Yeah. Not knowing this. This was all my own.
Not knowing. You were already saying, can't I just talk to you directly, and had that experience?
Ask questions. That was one of my things.
Awesome.
You know,
I think
As a
Yeah.
little kid, my mother would say, Lena, you ask why so many times. Why do you have to, and because I want to know why. So anyways, there I am that night. This was a year or so into this sort of conversation with God. And I'm kneeling by my bed. As soon as I put my elbows on the bed and my hands, elbow on the bed was a comfortable sit, and my hands straddling my face, I totally went into a different place. I had a total immediate out of body experience. There I am. I have now turned into a white, I want to say an angelic dove flying over the United States. My wings touch the West Coast and the East Coast. So that's how big I was and how high above the map I was, right? And I'm watching bombs going off in certain areas in the United States. And I'm yelling to the people, all you have to do is believe. Just believe. I don't know exactly what I was meaning, but that was, now that you think about, why did I use that word? Why did I say it? But I wasn't in control of myself. All right. I was having an out of body experience, totally. And so I see this little person over here, someplace in the, I don't know, maybe Delaware area, grow wings and fly up. And then this little person down in Arizona grow wings and fly up. And another person above in maybe California, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places that these little bombs, these bombs were going off, right? And out of these places, maybe 4 people flew up. Okay, I screamed out loud, not to be heard audibly in the room, I guess, but in this vision. What is wrong with all of you? Why can't you believe? I snapped out of it, not of my own doing. It's just what happened. My heart was racing 100 miles an hour. Tears were streaming down my face. I was shaking, and I said, what the F just happened to me? What was that? Now, forgive me because I'm going back in memory. I was still a little in the church. I went to the church. I was in that tweeny stage where you are and you're not. So I get confused. But when I tell the story, then things come back to me stronger. I go to the pastor of this church and I told him what happened. And he said, Elena, it sounds very demonic. I said, no, it wasn't. I got up and I walked out and I said, I'm never coming back here again. All right. You're not going to tell me that wasn't my truth and that God was not showing me something. What was he showing me? Why? What was it I was either prepare? Was it something I was to meditate about? I had no idea, but I knew in time it would come. In time it would come. I don't know really if it's here yet, but I feel like things are happening in this world that at this point in time, we don't even know what the heck is going to happen in a day from now. We just don't know. So, that was my just the whole thing. Then shortly right then that is when Joe Atwell's book came into being. And as I read his book, he said, there is a Messiah for every religion in every part of the world. They all have their, so you say, so what's truth? If everybody's got their own so-called God, Savior, whatever, so whose truth is right? You have the Jewish people fighting against the Christians. You have this one, that one. Come on, everybody, somebody. So when I got into a little bit of spiritualism, somebody told me, I said, but but what they're saying is not truth. And the person said, I need to correct you. He was in a teacher position. It's their truth. And right away I said, this is bullshit. I said, yeah. And in a way, he was right. It was their truth. It was their truth. It didn't mean it was true. It was their truth. And I said, I want to know the fact. I want to know I want to know where did it come from? Who wrote it? Who saw it? Are there pictures of it? Who can explain it? I wanted to know as much as I could. A lot of the times you can't find this information, but I think when I was going through the book and watching the DVD, and also I think the biggest book after that one, I mean, and this was something that I had done on my book Zoom, was Not in His Image, right? John Lamb Lash's book. That book, I have it right in front of me. That book really it really helped me, because it gave, it started at the very beginning with Hypatia, and the library of, I think, was it the Greek time there?
Elena, I wanna go over a couple of things, and thank you, Dennis.
I set up on my Linux. It's better. It won't be so much choppy. I'm going to cut it here if you can let me in there.
Perfect.
Did you hear were you able to hear?
Yeah, I was hearing in the background.
Okay, good.
So one of the things, oops.
I'm going to zip out here and go back in. So
sounds good. You said a lot. Thank you so much for sharing that. That especially an out-of-body experience, because I think that that's something that's important. And we haven't talked too much about that on this channel. That's something that's, I think, important, because it shows you're not your body. And that's the one thing. But knowing that you're not your body doesn't mean that you shouldn't be responsible for this. It's like having your temple. This is your temple while you're here, right? So I'll leave that for a moment, and then I want to ask you a couple clarifying questions. The first is, you said bombs going off. So that was your understanding, your perception was that there were bombs going off.
I actually saw that.
So like an explosion of a military bomb, or what?
It was looking at an atlas map of the United States, and if you've ever done a history class where they show, well, this place was under attack and this place was under attack, and they would show you an explosion going off there, and then an explosion going off there.
Okay, so it's a literal bomb.
Yes.
And then you were shown. Ooh, Dennis, is that you?
That's me. I changed the setup a little bit.
Just mute yourself. I think I've got your feedback coming on from you.
Okay, 1 second.
Just yeah, unless you're talking, then mute. Okay, so you said a lot of things in this. Mm-hmm. And the one thing when you said, all you have to do is believe.
Yep.
Now, of course, lies, because belief, right? So there's that. But what I got out of what you said, and even when you brought in these other pieces with regards to then the books, and then you're looking for these books and you're looking to verify truth for yourself. Mm-hmm. When the truth was handed to you, I mean, as an observer, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was right there. And isn't it interesting how then the pastor said it's their truth, which I think is still a perception. When someone can allow for others to have their own viewpoint, mm-hmm. in Scientology's, it would be considered granting beingness.
It wasn't a pastor, though, who said that.
Or whomever, right? Okay. Someone saying it is their truth. So we would have to, in any conversation we're having, define what truth means. Because it's their perception. Ultimately, I think is what he's saying. It's their belief. It's their perception. It is not their truth. because we've just made truth mean perception, right? So it's a synonym. It's not a synonym for perception unless we make it be that. But if we look at truth, it'd be closer to fact. Anyway, this is all nomenclature. This is all words, and we have to make sure we're defining the words we're using. Because like you, Elena, I want freaking facts. But I think that's the trap. I think that is part of the biggest trap that we've kept ourselves in and perpetuated, because as you told your story of that connection, you touched your face and you had an out-of-body experience and the experience that it was, that's definitely your truth and your perception. And did it factually happen? There's no way we can have evidence of that. So you see, it kind of unravels itself, which is really interesting. And it almost excites me and expands everything, because now we don't have to keep trying to fit things into specific boxes. We just have to keep unraveling the nested boxes, you know? I think this is really interesting, because I don't know if this happened to you, Dennis, but when I got involved in Passio, he became my next, the all end all be all truth. He was my source of truth for a while, right? Which is the mistake. And then you went off, Elena, and got the book, you know, John's book. Whereas, yes, that could definitely give you insight and understanding and expansion, but it's not necessarily that it's truth or factual. Because does he have all the evidence of proof? I mean, I don't know. I love it. I'm excited to read that book. And I think that this is where it's excited to keep questioning. Is that you, Dennis?
What's that?
I'm like,
Oh.
I'm going to mute, or you. Yeah. So if you want to talk, I'm going to mute myself just so you don't have my feedback. What's your take, Dennis, then?
So is my mic too loud? I'm using my microphone now. Is it too loud?
It's not, doesn't sound very nice.
Yeah.
It makes it's like you're like in the moon, like a moon landing.
Landing? Input. Hold on a sec.
Mute yourself.
Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's better than the other one.
Okay. So what's the question?
Oh, well, never mind, because I there wasn't a specific question. It was just
Technology.
It was just talking about what Elena had said, because I think that she expressed her experience in probably a smaller window than it happened. Certainly mine with Scientology. Elena, I don't know if you heard my story about Scientology, but there were similarities in that you start questioning, and then you go back and you try to get approval, or you get feedback from another, and then it answers that question that's inside of you. That's why this is.
But with every question answered, like you say, you get half a dozen more that you want answered. Sooner or later, you keep going to the authority, you realize they give you bullshit. They haven't got all the answers. You got to find them yourself within.
The answers.
What's
Do you
that?
see that?
What?
As I was listening to your story, Elena, I realized it is not about the answers. We don't have to have the answers. We just have to keep questioning and be okay to keep questioning. And that there is right and wrong, but you're not right or wrong. Meaning, I used to blame myself as, oh, I'm wrong. I've got to get it right. I've got to be, the red pencil mind control stuff that Passio talks about as well, that you have to be right and you have to, no, that's the whole thing, is we have to keep questioning, because that's the only way we're going to know the truth for ourselves.
After
perception.
After I'd read Joe Atwell's book, I had read all the books and by the authors of people that he had on that particular interview, and I probably read maybe 15. I got about 20 books, read about 15 of them, all about, was Jesus even, real? Was, all these authors and proof of historicity of that time, and nothing can be proven. So I was always searching and just looking for answers, because what he was saying was pretty powerful, and I wanted to know, where did these people get their answers from? So yeah.
And think about it. Elena, you're talking just about Jesus, that
Right.
whole thread.
Right.
There are countless
Right.
religions.
Right.
When I was studying to become a minister for the Church of Scientology, I studied 78 of them.
Mm.
So think about, I mean, it's like you said, it's the guy who said it's their truth.
Right.
Why? Because they're creating the mythology. And is it because they're trying to control them? Or is it because in that tribe, they want to make that mythology? Like, for example, with the Star Wars, you know, that's a whole reality for some folks, right? Oh my gosh, this is so interesting. My mind is going on these folks who it's true for them that they've become a cat, or now, you know, or the genders, and now there's however many dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of different genders and biologies and all of this. And it's like, okay, let me actually think of that. I don't necessarily think that's true or false, but there's some factual information about where we are right now in this time and space. And I think, Elena, you said something that made me think, if God was giving you a specific perception, so it landed for you that it was true by first shifting, I was going to say, allow you to get out of your body, you know, doing an out-of-body experience where you expand it up, and then you had the thought to say, all you have to do is believe. Is that the question of, okay, well, God, what is it? All you have to do is believe. Can you have that conversation? And I'm going to say him, because what else can I say, right? Can you have a conversation with God and ask specifically about that? I'm curious. I would like to know. I want to know about that. And then showing you, right, in time, you said in time, it would. But then you said it hasn't happened yet. So what are you doing to cultivate that? And do you ever try to do that, replicate that experience being out of your body on a regular basis?
No, I don't try to duplicate that because it happened all on its own. And I feel that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on its own. I don't want to fabricate it. I don't want to force it. There are a lot of people who are giving courses on, you know, what are they, out of body, and then what are some of these other things?
All kinds of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they give courses on how to do it and how to do it. And none of that interests me. I think because it's not.
Exactly. And I'm not saying go do that. In fact, I wouldn't. You have proof for yourself that you can do it. You did do it. It is your experience. For me, I'd be like, it's like Dennis with the spoon bending.
I mean, I
you know,
this day, I have to admit, you know, after reading the different books that I'm reading, and I sometimes question the whole thing about God, because you know, so many bad things happen, and you wonder, people who love God and this and this and this, but the religion, the people who are in the religion always have an answer for you. Oh, well, God's testing you, or this is happening.
What's your answer?
I haven't. It's still a question for me, because I think in my personal life, it's been very hard and very difficult. So if I personally pointed towards me, I say, God, I did all the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing in order for you to love me, and yet my life was so difficult. So therefore, either you're putting me through something, or you don't love me, or you're not real. I mean, that's deep and heavy. I'm not sure
That's amazing. Amazing. And now that you've asked that question, or you've kind of unraveled that, now you can start seeing things and poking holes on this whole thing.
Right.
That's what gets me excited. because I had that same thing. What's wrong with me? How come I'm not worthy? And I still go back to that because that's old childhood programming.
Right. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And
yeah.
it'll default back and
Oh,
play. And then I have to, do whatever. So I'm curious, do you do that? Do you now? Because you just said it. I was like, oh, that was beautiful.
Do I do what? What?
That, just ask that question. Okay, so now that you've asked that question, keep asking the question. Keep asking more questions along that questioning. It's
But
expanding you.
Keep
Can you
asking,
feel that?
keep asking, what is it? The book? The Roadmap. We're reading, my Bookzoom now is reading the Roadmap by David Icke.
So
Now,
hang on a second. Hang on a second.
that's helping me ask the question.
Okay, all right. As long as it is, because I have to share my perception here.
Okay.
You are an expansive being. And every time you talk and express yourself, you are expansive. And then the moment you go and reach for the book or reach for another authority, your energy seems to go smaller and into like this. And when you talk, it's like, it's so cool. It's like, oh my God, there it is. That's so cool.
Actually, it doesn't, because of what church did to me for so many decades of my life, I can read anybody's book and somebody will go, oh, wow, that was great. That we have to, oh, wow. And it's like, I have a lot of questions, I'm not just going to believe somebody just because they wrote a book. I mean, even with Joe Atwell, he wrote a book.
Right.
I now have to find out, where did he get his information?
Right. But you keep asking out there.
Yeah.
I think you have more answers than you actually allow yourself to know. That's what I'm trying to say. But as soon as you start to know that, it's like you turn to a book and try to get more answers from a book. But you just expressed so much when you were just expressing. And I'm like, wow, right?
All right.
This
So
is exciting to me.
I
So
did-
I'll just say, you probably have books in you.
but I did
You
get an answer within myself, my answer to myself, when I said, what was that all about? And the answer to me is, maybe it's not going to be an airplane dropping bombs, but maybe it's going to be the fighting, social wars against the people, each other. This group fighting this group, and this group fighting this group. But the whole thing about it, I still question the fact that I use the term believe. That word now has changed, because I know the difference between knowing and believing, right? It's just the way it happened to me was so powerful that you can't undo that power. You just can't undo it. And then all the things that happened after that were messages that I was being given about other people. Yeah, that were true.
No, I think it's very valuable, that experience, and you probably will be able to have different perceptions about it. It's cool. That's exciting. I love it. I hope that someone who needs to hear this will hear it and receive it and feel like, okay, they're safe to have the experiences, and it not be that they're crazy.
I think what it is being genuine. You don't do something because you want an answer. You're doing something because your heart is compassionate. Your heart is wanting to help humanity. It's a heart message from within each and every one of us. Yeah.
Perhaps. I think there's probably more worlds than this, but I think there's more than just the heart. And I think that's where, so many just go stuck to the heart. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you're wrong. Just, again, pulling more. Dennis knows this about me. he doesn't take anything personally. So don't take anything personally. I just like pushing, and I'm my own worst. I mean, I will question myself and pull this apart because you have a very strong intellect, and when you talk and your intellect it's there, connected with the heart. That's powerful. Then you connect that with emotion. Heart and emotion are different to me. And then you connect that with your archetypal energy that you have as a wise elder. Like, I feel like I'm at that. Dennis and I are seeing that. We're not spring chickens anymore, and we're starting to feel like, okay, there's what does the wise elder actually mean and do? It's not that we have all the answers, and you know what I mean? And that's what's so exciting is like, oh, this is unraveling everything for me.
But you just said something very important, and that is in the tradition of, let's say, the Native American Indians. They didn't write anything down. They talked it. They shared it in verbal form. And I think some of it at some point may have been written down, but look at how civilization tried to destroy all that. And now it's almost dead. And
I don't agree. It's not dead. It's just not in the form that we think right now, or that it's taken on this plane. Because I do have my own ancestral connection to, fine, we'll call it Native American, but that connection is so similar to what you experienced with the out of body and that connection there and seeing all of that. And we're just not used to it. We're used to going to the books.
And that's
not books.
And
going to, right, that kind of thing. And so I think that what's exciting, and you're just igniting this in me right now, is that because I am a book, and I struggle with this because I can't let my books go. And I've been asking every day, why is it that I literally feel like I'm suffocating if I don't have my books? So they've replaced something.
Right.
They've replaced something. And then yet now when I'm having these conversations, says, I'll get off this with you, Dennis. And this, oh, why did I do that? And I'll go back into my little cocoon. I'll like in my shell, and I just want my book. I just want my safe book. Right? I just want to go read my safe book. Oh, look at them. They're my friends. They're my lovers. I love them. Right? That kind of thing. And isn't that interesting? Because that is an old truth that's very tangible for me right now. And I wonder for how many others.
That's exactly what I've tried to share with I have a group on Friday night when they come. And one girl is constantly referring to a certain teacher and the books and all the things that this particular teacher has written and so on and so forth. And then when her and I had talked, and she said, but how did you do that? And I said, I can't honestly tell you how, because it comes with the desire of the intention of not who you are, but of what you're looking for. Why are you here? What is your purpose here? Is it for you? Is it for you to do all these great and wonderful things that you got out of the book? Or is this something that's within you, that you are wanting to be kind, courteous, helpful? Reading the books is great, but the thing is, you read the book and go, that was interesting.
And you forget it. Tend to forget it over time. Don't you think you forget the stuff in the book?
You know what it is? Dennis? It's not that you forget. You might forget certain words, paragraphs,
ideas and concepts you can remember,
but it's the impact it left on you, who you are, and say, wow, this story, this person did something that was unbelievably compassionate and loving and kind towards another living soul. And I think that's the part of it we're supposed to be getting out of it.
To me, though, rhetorically speaking, we're missing the whole thing. if we don't then go and do the compassionate acts.
That's what I mean.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not just, okay, good. So that's the big
Yeah.
piece, because it's not, oh, look, she or he did a compassionate act. It's like, oh, that's a good reminder.
Right.
That's what I should be doing.
That's
now,
what.
put the book away and go do the compassionate acts.
That's
but
what.
do it from an integrated place. Yeah. Okay.
That's
good.
what I was trying to tell my
Good.
friend. You can read all these books, but it has to be within you. You have to reach out. You have to do and help a person who might be in need or whatever. We all have discernment, and you gotta you gotta be careful, because sometimes there's very dark souls out there.
You said something else, and then I actually need to start wrapping this up. You said something about when you were talking to your friend and you were trying to help her out. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? I used to get so stuck on this and would read every book on it, and what is your purpose, and you've got to live your purpose, and all of these pieces. And what happens is I think we spin ourselves in. We literally tailspin, and what is your purpose is the wrong question. That I believe that's the wrong question. And I think we know ourselves. And if we ask, what is our purpose? Anyway, I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to, it's not like I have my attention on that. I constantly am. This is just how I am, Elena. I push back. It's not on you, but it's these concepts, because I've had to unravel them. And I know there are people out there that think that that's my purpose. I have to know my purpose. I lived that, trying to find my purpose for decades and help my kids find their purpose and live their purpose. And the Joseph Campbell, you're supposed to find your purpose and then give it away. And then it's like, holy F. That is a total, you want to crash and burn, that's how you do it.
Purpose of life is,
Get awake.
I've heard it said, simple. The purpose of life is to live.
Exactly. And Stefana, I wasn't prepared for such an intense conversation, but I totally agree.
It's pressure off me. I'm sitting back enjoying this.
While we're all here, we're dealing with NPCs. We're dealing with people with the divine spark, and there are people. I don't walk around saying, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Because I just do. I do what I feel is the right thing to do, the compassionate thing to do, and that's it. But there are other people, I don't know quite where they're coming from, but it's like they're walking around in circles constantly, and always looking to somebody else to answer them or solve their question, and it's not up to somebody else to do that. What do you just live your life, and you'll know why you're here. Just
100%. I totally agree. And you said it earlier too. They talked. The tribes talked. The people talked, and it was safe to talk. It was safe to unravel. You didn't get in trouble for having a conversation.
Right.
That is so important. And I really hope, I wasn't great with that with my kids. With my sons, I wasn't. I was like, this is what's true. This is what you're supposed to do. And now, because I have cultivated a better relationship with my sons, they are, at least with my older one, he is willing to allow me to unravel my fixed ideas and beliefs. And we can evolve and expand as a result. And I think, and I wish, and I pray for everyone to be able to experience that, because it is so oppressive to always be fighting this. I have to get it right. Did I get this right? Am I right? Am I worthy? Is this acceptable? Because then it goes back to our safe and all of that. Am I part of the tribe? I was like, all of that stupid. That's only one part of who we are. That biological thing. That is one part of who we are. We are that spark, that life, that white dove that expands out and expands over the universe and expands and sees the entire terrain and is able to see the light pop up and to know. All you have to, and you want that for everyone else. All you have to do is believe. All you have to do is know. Right? I totally love that. What a great conversation.
And you know, Stefana, I had to go and apologize to my children. I have 4 children, and say, while I was raising them and I was in the church had me do such evil thing. Well, I'll use the term evil. You know, spare,
So we
spare
can't
the rod,
say
spoil the child.
the church, right?
Oh my
But the
God.
church didn't have us do that. We agreed, and that's the thing.
Yep.
Because I could blame and point my fingers, but what do we have? 3 fingers pointing back.
I
And
want to
so,
be accepted.
when we can take our own responsibility, and that's what we have to model for our children.
Yep.
For our sons and daughters, we have to model for them.
Yep.
That, yeah, this is hard. It's excruciating that I did. My perception was completely this way, and as a result, I took these actions.
Mhm.
It wasn't the church. It was that our perception that was right. And so,
But we're
yes,
very
it's
impressionable, though,
culpable
right?
for theirs, but what's that?
We're impressionable, especially when you're younger. Your parents
I
were
know.
influenced by church,
I know.
authorities, government, schooling, all the massive brainwashing. Like we want to take our individual responsibility, but the whole mass society,
Well,
and though the government agents and all the authorities have a
these
responsibility.
digital
too.
devices, every single child I've seen in the last, I've just been observing so specifically, everyone has had a digital device. I think I did see one infant face was in mama's face, in a like a little ergo type of thing. Didn't have a digital device, thank goodness. But she had it. And I just thought, oh wow, this is totally planned. This has been a long-term thing. It is totally this way.
Oh yeah.
Until folks get it, and I hope they will. They're not going to watch this and go, oh, well, I'll put my phone away, right?
Right.
And now they've got the kids addicted. They're completely addicted. Oh my goodness.
Have you seen the movie Brave New World? I think it was. There's 2, like 1984.
Well, the book
The Brave
is
New World. I
far
thought
better.
I saw the movie when I was a kid, but you're talking about the cell phones. It made me think. I do remember this one scene from the movie. They're walking like in a drugged out stupor. Soma, and that's like your cell phone. My cell phone.
Oh my
Phone.
gosh. They don't even ride their bike. It's like this kid is on his bike, not even seeing where he's going. I'm like, wow. Oh my gosh. I don't know. How is this gonna unravel?
Yeah.
Because then they're in their cars and they're not driving. They're oh my gosh. Okay. So let's end on a good note. I want to go back to that vision that Elena gave us, where you expanded out as the white dove, and I felt that energy and I could feel that, and it was expansive and beautiful and amazing. I do want more of that. And I don't think that there's a class or a coach or a guru. It's you and your work, and that's the gift. And when we each do our own work, it will reflect on the outer world.
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Welcome.
Thank
This was an
you.
easy
That
one. I just
electricity.
sit back and I had my tea and I just
Yeah.
listened.
I think Elena and I both were on the same page in that, well, there was something like this discussion where your electricity went out. That's our superstition, but fun.
Okay.
Fun
It was
stuff to talk about.
Meant to be. Yep.
Okay. See you later.